On today's Tech Help for Churches, the brand of microphone most churches should not use for their podcasts. Hi, and welcome to Tech Help for Churches. This is the show where every week I help you with new media, social media, and the internet for your church. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. So I'm a part of a lot of different communities online. Some of them deal specifically with church tech, and others deal with online learning or online business, things that I have merged with church tech in what I'm doing right here, right now. So I keep hearing this same mistake being made over and over again. And let me tell you what prompted this episode. I was in a discussion and someone said, "Hey, I got a great microphone, but the sound is hollow and really not very good." And then she told me the brand of the microphone, and I knew what the problem was immediately. You see, let's go back a long way in time to 2005, when podcasting first started and people were desperate to get a professional microphone and get the sound into the computer to record it with. So a lot of people opted for a specific brand of microphone because it was a condenser microphone. So a lot of studios and professional broadcast environments use condenser microphones. So they thought, that's what we want. And it had a USB interface. So they thought, best of both worlds. Professional broadcast microphone, USB interface, perfect. Except it's not. You see, the problem with this particular brand of microphone is specifically that it is a condenser microphone. So in a previous episode, I talked all about using condenser microphones versus dynamic microphones, and that's the problem. You see, the blue brand of microphone is basically a line of condenser microphones that have USB outs. Now, what I'm recommending nowadays is the Technica ATR-2100, which is a dynamic microphone with a USB out. It also has an XLR out, so you can plug it into a sound mixing console if you need to. But if you need to connect it directly to a computer, you can do that. So, back to my story. The reason this lady was having problems with recording her sound there were a few different issues. First off, she was using a Blue Yeti, and the Blue Yeti has various pickup patterns. So, ideally, you only want the microphone to hear what you're saying into it. Unfortunately, with the Blue Yeti, there's an omnidirectional mode, which means it'll pick up everything in all directions. There is a cardioid mode, which is the way you would want to use it, and there are a couple of other settings, and I'm not convinced she was using the right one. Secondly, the stand they come with isn't particularly good. It will hold the microphone solid, but a condenser microphone is very sensitive, as I've said before. And so since a condenser microphone is very sensitive, that means that if you touch the desk that it's on, it's going to hear that. So you're going to get unnecessary background noise. Thirdly, this is something that I'm dealing with right now, but I've got some hardware in place to deal with it, and that is background noises that you would not normally hear, you will hear through a condenser microphone. So I'm using a headset microphone. Again, this is the Embrace microphone that I talked about in a previous episode of my Thursday show, Techno Babble. And it has the advantage of being very small, very hidden. fact, it's right over here above my right ear. But it's also very sensitive. Something you want when you've got something way over here above my right ear and not right by my mouth. That's good in this situation. But if you had a large condenser microphone, you'd hear all kinds of stuff that you don't normally hear because it's sensitive enough that it picks up nuances in things that maybe you don't want to hear. When your air conditioning turns on, you don't notice that normally. But with a condenser microphone, you probably will if you're listening to it through headphones. In fact, that's what happened to me just a few minutes ago because one of my earbuds is getting the straight feed from the microphone, and the other earbud is getting the compressed gated feed through my compressor limiter gate. So that's actually probably what you're listening to is the compressed feed, where I have a certain threshold above which that's the only time it breaks the gate. It listens when the sounds are above a certain level. So I can get by with a condenser microphone like this one because I've got a compressor limiter gate. But when you're plugging directly into your computer, you don't have a compressor limiter gate. Now, granted, you can use some software to do that, but that's a bit of a problem because the software, while it's very good, this lady just had a microphone that someone had recommended to her. She didn't know how to use the software to edit it, and she was getting all kinds of information from people saying, no, it's a great mic. Just edit out that audio. That's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to avoid recording the audio in the first place. So when I was initially recording this show, I heard ice breaking up. And what you need to know is my wife is an ice addict. I know there are other people like that. No problem. Except I heard the ice breaking up from the ice maker all the way in here in my office, and that's what she tends to do when she gets ice. Well, it's after the time when she has gone to bed because she works a normal 9 to 5 job, which I sometimes help out with, purely in the side. So she's gone to bed and I'm recording this show. So I thought that she had gotten up, gotten some ice, and was breaking it up while I was recording the show. Why? Because the ear that's hearing the ungated version heard that little bit from the ice maker, which I've since turned off because I don't want to be distracted by it. So that's the kind of thing that you'll hear. So when it comes to picking out a microphone, you want to avoid a line of microphones that will pick up extraneous sound that your ear doesn't normally pick up in the environment unless you're in a very controlled environment. My studio is more controlled than most church environments, but still not as great as I'd like it to be. For example, over here on my left, your right, as you're watching me, there is a brick fireplace. The brick is not really good for acoustics. But that's okay because I don't normally talk towards the brick. I'm talking towards the camera, and behind it I've got a bunch of furniture, some soft cloth, etc. to keep from getting an echo. So that was a valuable piece of advice that she received, which was to make sure you're not talking directly into a brick wall, not talking into concrete, etc. But how many churches have a dedicated room that's been treated for sound other than the sanctuary? How many churches the pastor's office is made out of cinder blocks? See how that could be a problem? Maybe the wall immediately opposite where the pastor is speaking is made of cinder blocks, and you would get some reverb. Not quite an echo, but a kind of roomy, airy sound. So that's something that you should look out for when you're going with a condenser microphone. So, while in 2005, when we all started podcasting, well, not all, but a lot of us did, a lot of people pulled the trigger and bought the Blue series of microphones. They soon found out that it would pick up a pin drop across the house. Or, in the case of a church, your pastor has it in his or her office and they're recording, and someone opens a door down the hall and you hear it as if it's opening the door to the pastor's office. That's not what you want. You want a microphone that's sensitive enough to pick up the voice, but not so much to pick up all the extraneous sounds. You can get past that with a gate, but if you're trying to plug directly into a computer and record that way, keeping it nice and simple, then really you're going to run into problems. You can try and do some editing on the back end, but it's really better to record good sound on the front end and then just sweeten it up a bit in the editing process as opposed to fix horrible problems. Well, I hope that helped you. I hope that now you're thinking, well, what kind of mic should I get? Dynamic mic. Should you get a Blue Yeti or a Blue Snowball? Probably not, unless you have a dedicated sound-treated environment that can handle it. Should you get a dynamic microphone? Yeah. Should you plug directly into your computer to record? Maybe. But you need to have the right combination of things. Treat the room so that you don't get any echo. Record into a computer, but have a backup if you can at all. Have some processing on the sound if you need it. And you can record your podcast that you've designed to go out and change eternity. If you like this content, you'd probably like my email newsletter, so by all means head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/newsletter and pick up your free subscription to that. Once you do, you'll get subscribed to my email newsletter, and I've got a ton of free content that I send out right at the beginning especially that will help you learn how to do church tech better, whether it's ProPresenter, video, etc., just to help out your church. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Go out and change eternity.